In the past, we've had some awesome workshops, but now we have a very special conversation with Lauren Maillian Bias. Lauren is absolute dynamo. She was one of Levo's earliest supporters, and we're really, really lucky to have her here today. She's going to answer some of our questions, some of my questions. All of you out there, you can tweet to hashtag the Path Redefined and specifically ask her what is on your mind as we're here chatting. Lauren has been super successful probably from the day that she had her lemonade stand. She has had 3 really successful ventures that I am not even going to be able to remotely do justice to. So Lauren, I want you to take it away and let our community know a little bit about you. She has just on Tuesday launched her book, The Path Redefined, which we're super pumped about. It's already an Amazon bestseller, which just is a testament to how awesome you are. So let's give our audience a little bit of a background on you.
Thank you so much, Maxie. That was an awesome introduction. I'm so excited to be on the local Levo digital Google Hangout with you. And gosh, I don't even know where do I begin. First, to say thank you. I'm like honored to be a Levo supporter from day one, and I'm so excited to be able to have this conversation with you and talk about my new book, The Path Redefined, Getting to the Top on Your Own Terms. You know, for me, being an entrepreneur and starting on this journey, you know, really did start when I was 8 with this lemonade and iced tea stand that I talk about in the book that you touched on already. And from there, I think that spirit just has lived on with me forever because I so believe in, you know, carving out your own niche, owning your own destiny, running your own race, you know, and doing kind of what works for you to have the most amazing life possible. And so my first business I started when I was 19, which was a vineyard in Virginia that I turned into an award-winning winery and wine brand. And I was chief operating officer of that company until 2011. And then I moved on and ended up starting a marketing company here in New York called Luxury Market Branding. And our first client was a company called Heritage Link Brands, who they're also in the wine space, and so it was a natural fit for us to start there, for me to start there. They really pushed me, the founder of Heritage Link, Selena Cuff, really pushed me to do something else and let me know that my expertise was really needed to help Heritage Link at that time. And so Luxury Market Branding does consumer marketing and branding strategies for companies in the wine and spirit space, in the skincare space, fashion accessory space as well. And then I got the bug for the itch for tech and startups. And it was at the time when, you know, women in tech was getting to be really important. Technology in New York that we now like to call Silicon Alley was just starting to have a huge presence and spur. And that's when I had the opportunity to meet Caroline and Amanda and become an awesome, like steadfast supporter of all of the great work that Levo wanted to do and having this platform. And it just has grown from there. So I fell in love with technology and startups and started advising companies, then ultimately started investing in them, and was tapped to start Gen Y Capital Partners, which is an early stage venture firm here in New York that we brought together, myself and some partners, to do just that, to invest in the next generation of really amazing, young, promising entrepreneurs, and to help, you know, leverage their success as best as we could by, you know, collaborating and pulling together our networks and expertise to help them get to the top.
Yeah, you are just such an inspiration. You say that you're so grateful, but we are so beautifully grateful to have you as a role model and as an inspiration, and just these things that you've done in terms of your entrepreneurial career. There's so many women in our community and so many women out there who, you know, they really want to do the same. They want to start their own company. And you have done that from such an early age, truly at the age of 19, and continue to have done that. If there's a woman out there and she has this budding idea but doesn't feel like she has the gumption or, you know, is ready to do it, what kind of advice and what were you given that really pushed you forward to be able to do those things and continue to do those things when it can be a little risky and scary?
You know, and that's a great point, and I talk about that in my book a lot, which is a question that I always ask myself. And it's a fairly simple question. It's a spin on something that we hear all the time, but I like to say, is it worth it even if I fail? And so there's so
I
much
love
opportunity.
that.
So much opportunity to be had on so many of these experiences where we are so afraid. But we're clearly so afraid because there's something so great. The possibility is so great, and we're afraid that we're probably not going to reach it or achieve it. But if we know that that experience is worth it, even if we fail, it's invaluable, right? Just the experience, the lessons learned, the people that we get to work with, the opportunities that we get to have, what we can add to our resume is just invaluable. And a lot of the times as well, people are so, I find, so uncomfortable about what they think their insecurities are. And oftentimes those are the things that make us stand out. But I like to say those are the things that make us unique. And there's a way to leverage those. There's a way to leverage our uniqueness. And there's a way to capitalize on our passions to be able to have a career and a life that we're proud of and that makes us happy and that we want to share with others, and that really is true to us and true to ourselves. And so, it comes down to a combination of obviously intelligence, drive, mental fortitude, confidence, and learning how to embrace failure, and look at it as a way to grow, as an opportunity for growth.
Yeah. That's such good advice, and it's really, it is important to find what makes you unique, but oftentimes some of the toughest things to do is to really identify what that is for you, what makes you unique. How do you do that for yourself? Do you bring in other people to kind of ask them like, hey, what do you think I'm best in the world at? What do you think is a great way to define what it is that makes you unique in order to be able to leverage that?
Well, I think that we can start with figuring out what makes us unique by looking at what we're insecure about, because oftentimes, again, that is what makes us unique. So that's one starting point.
That's really interesting.
Funny enough, I think another starting point is what all your naysayers say, what all the people who don't believe in you say, because all the reasons that they don't believe in you is clearly what makes you different.
Amen.
And there's a way to take that sort of feedback, even though it may hurt. Even though it may cut you to your core, there's a way to take that kind of feel of almost defeat and turn it into something really constructive.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard to take those naysayers, but you have, you spoke a lot about that in your book, and you've obviously done an amazing job at pushing back to what anyone is ever going to say about you. And one of the things that I really loved that you talked about was not discrediting yourself and not looking at luck or opportunity as a bad thing. Levo just put an article up on our site, about why luck can sometimes be such a dirty word, because you didn't get lucky. However, there is this way to really own the opportunity and the access to certain things that you get. How do you feel like you've personally dealt with that in your own career?
I think it's a really great point, Maxie. And it's interesting because a lot of the times people will say, and not just to me, I hear it all the time, even from other women and men even that I'm talking to, for a variety of reasons, that say, oh, well, so-and-so thinks that I, was given the opportunity or the interview because of the access of my family, or because, of my pedigree from my school, or because, of my looks or something else. And what's really interesting to me is that, okay, so that may open the door. That doesn't mean that you get to keep your place. And I talk about that in the book. Nobody gets to keep their place if they're not pulling their weight. No one, right? You have to prove yourself. And in fact, in my opinion, when you're, when that sort of opportunity presents itself and this amazing, opportunity is presented to you, or a door is opened, or you get to kind of fast track the process because you have an in for whatever the reason is, it raises the bar of the expectations, okay? The expectations don't stay where they are for everybody else. They get raised, and so you've got that much more work to do to A, prove yourself, and B, to make the person who put their selves on the line for you and their human capital on the line for you, you also have to make that person proud. So it's almost more pressure. It's almost, yes, it could be a blessing. It can be a huge gift to get some sort of a leg up, or an easier in. I don't call it an easy in, right? Let's call it an easier in. But you definitely have to work even harder.
Yeah. Yep. And hard work, you spoke a lot to that in your book. And to talk about the ins, or the easier ins, a lot of times that comes from relationships. And you made so many amazing points about relationships. One of my favorite quotes, and I wrote it down, was relationships are the currency of influence and success in business. And I highlighted and I starred and I was like, oh my God, that's such an amazing way of thinking about it. So if relationships are currency, Lauren, tell us, how do we all get wealthy?
That is awesome. I love it. You know, it comes down to having genuine connections with people first. Yeah. People are people, no matter how successful they are, how accomplished, you know, what their resumes say, what their business cards say. People are people, and they want to have genuine relationships. And, you know, it's something that we hear all the time in the media is, you know, don't just make an ask with nothing to give. But that's so true. Mm-hmm. You know, in networking and building relationships, it's just the same as building a friendship. There should be a reciprocal value. It should be mutually beneficial in some form or fashion. And while, you know, we may network with someone who's our peer, we may network with someone who we think is going to be our mentor or who is our mentor. You know, I even talk about this in the Path Redefined as well. My life and career has been a lot of what I like to call reciprocal mentorships, right? They teach me something that I don't know, but on the flip side of that, I'm that younger person with my, well, in the event that they're my mentor per se, right? I'm that younger person or the person who is just coming into that particular industry who's so hungry that they know I'm going to keep my eye on the ball and that I'm always going to be at the pulse of what's going on. And that also has value. Mm-hmm. And so you realize that everyone has value. Everyone has something meaningful and valuable that they can put forth in relationships, in networking, that can help even the most successful person. And it could be something small, you know, even the people in the tech world, a lot of these young founders who think that they don't have much to offer, just in their own networks of other amazing, you know, young entrepreneurs who are building great companies, they can add tremendous value to people who we think are almost untouchable, who, you know, either don't have the time to be immersed in the field the way that we are as entrepreneurs, or who are interested but just don't necessarily know where to get started. And so, you know, think about how you can add value in creating real, true relationships. Yeah. I mean, in something small, but I mean it. Like, I send holiday cards to people in my network, and it's not because I think it's the right thing to do. It's because I have a true and meaningful relationship with them. And outside of whatever business relationship we have, I do truly consider them a friend, and I know that they consider me to be a friend as well.
Yeah, you care about your relationships, you care about the people that are in your network. And one of the things that I love that you said, and it really resonated with me, and I'm sure will resonate with everyone when they read the book, is, you know, when you come into these relationships, and one of the keys to networking is looking at these people and wondering, how can I help? You know, and you kind of mentioned it in terms of there's always an availability to help someone. Can you tell me a little bit more about why you chose to put that specific anecdote in your book about just really looking at relationships and how you can help people?
I think being on this Google Hangout is a testament to that. You know, I think that you help people because you want to. You help people because you want to see them succeed. You also help people, you know, strategically, I say, in the sense that, you know, even though there may be no true compensation per se, I think everyone is always looking for, oh, but that's not my job, or oh, I'm not being compensated for that, or they're not paying me to do that. Okay, maybe not, but you're adding to your resume. You're adding to your experience. I'm super proud to be able to say that I've been an instrumental part of, like, watching Levo grow and get off the ground, right? And back to this, like, reciprocal relationship. You know, Caroline and Amanda no longer need my mentorship, right? Here I am on Levo, so.
Yeah, no, and it's incredible, and we are so grateful to have you with that. And, you know, there's a lot of people in the Levo sphere that you know as well. Before we got on here, you know, we were just talking about Kelly Hoey and how she's mentioned in the book, and just how wonderful of a supporter she is to us individually and as a whole. And one of the things that she talks about is, you know, passion. And I hear this all the time, you know, from women in our community, that can be really tough. How you find your passion, where you even begin. And, you know, Lauren, you have found a way to harness that in a lot of different spaces. How do you feel like you've done that so well?
I'm just so inquisitive. So inquisitive. I always want to know, and I want to be good at everything I do, or else I don't want to do it at all. And that's just like a Lauren principle. And so I find myself I only do things that I'm really, really passionate about, and that translates into, sleepless nights, sometimes, reading as much as I can, meeting as many people as I can, building upon momentum and interest and information that I'm intaking to be the best I can possibly be, and just knowing that alone will reap, its benefits going forward. And I don't necessarily, as I say, as a lot of the book is about, there's not always a clear, defined path or approach straight ahead. Right. But the goal is clear. The big overarching goal that motivates me, that drives me, is always really clear. But it's rooted in passion.
Well, this is beautiful, and I love, that your path has looked very different, and it's been so successful, but it hasn't been a mirror image of anyone that I've ever met. And one of the things that I admire the most about you, and that I loved reading about in your book, is that, while you did a lot of these ventures, you were also a single mother, and you have 2 beautiful children. And there's a lot of women in this community who are either mothers themselves or one day will be. And one of the things, I'm always thinking about this personally, like I look at our leadership and those who have women or who have children, I'm like, oh my God, how do you guys do this? Like, how do you have these big careers and these beautiful children and still sleep? And I would love from you, you wrote very specifically in the book, there is no balance. Tell us more about that.
There's definitely no balance, and the story in the book, I think, certainly speaks volumes, because that was a terrible, terrible time to be stranded away from them when Hurricane Sandy hit, which was just nuts, totally, totally nuts, and really hard for me. But, it's all about work-life integration and finding a way to make it all come together.
How do you bring it together?
It comes down to being open and honest about who I am and what my life is, and it's the package of Lauren. And so, everyone else, going back to what I was saying earlier, everyone is human. Even the most successful people are human. They too have children. They too have responsibilities. They too have good days and bad days, and highs and lows. And I think everyone, I'm an open book in that regard. You get me. You get Jaden and Chloe. It's the package, and I mean that obviously it has a place and a time. But in my work life, people know, and so sometimes people will message me and say, "Hey, can you do a 7:30 breakfast, or is that conflict with the kids?" I mean, because they just know that is so important to me, and it's so a part of who I am. And so it comes down to that communication, and people admire it. People admire the hustle, and I say that. In the best light possible. Everyone's hustling. It's just it's just how you package the hustle, right? And so, people know that I am trying to do it all, and they appreciate that, and in turn, they turn on that like sensitivity button to say, hey, does this work for you in your schedule? And I can reply and say, yes, it does. Thanks so much for asking. Or you've given me enough heads up that I'm going to make it work. Thanks for asking. Yeah. So, I think it comes down to also being really confident in who we are and what we're about and what we represent. And I think that when we want more for ourselves than anyone else can ever possibly want for us, and we're so confident in who we are and what we represent, just by virtue of who we are, it commands the same respect from other people that you allow into your orbit.
Yeah. Well, and that orbit sometimes, as you mentioned, does have some bad days. And one of the things I loved about your writing was you were really open about those obstacles and those days when you really just don't even want to leave your room. And with us, like with this generation, you mentioned this too, like our work is our life. And so when a piece of that is off and you're having a bad day or a bad month or like, darn it, a bad year, what have you found is a way to pull yourself out of that, to keep working towards success when a piece of that puzzle is off?
I push myself to get up, and I find that going to the gym does it for me. Everyone has something that does it for them. For me, it's going to the gym. It's loud music in my ears and an awesome sweat that just forces me to get up, gets me going, and sometimes, really it depends on what it is. But again, I talk about this a lot in the book. When I was going through, some of the most difficult times in my personal life, in the transition of becoming a single parent, which was actually not much of a transition. It was much more of like a bomb. Yeah. But it just happened. But it came down to me immersing myself in my work and just almost not thinking about the things that were painful. And obviously that's, far easier said than actually done, but I forced myself to do it. And I went through this moment of low confidence and doubting who I was and what I was about, and if I was, worthy as a woman, as a business person, if I had value to add to anyone's life or company or team. And I pushed myself to just stay out there and surround myself with places where I could add value so that I could regain my own confidence. And I hope I never feel that low again, because it was a really crappy way to feel. But I pushed myself. And if I ever find myself kind of slipping into that place again, I push myself to go to the gym.
Yeah.
I try going to yoga, and it's nice and it's zen, but it sometimes can make you even sadder. So I try to go do some cardio.
And then music just puts you in too much of a state. Well, it's really good advice, because nobody's journey, nobody's path is without some of those obstacles, either personal or professional, and sometimes they go together. So it's, it's just very inspiring to see how somebody can pull themselves out of that by having the right people around them, and by just, sometimes your work can be your best outlet of just, throwing yourself into it, which you have done on so many levels. And I love, that you have such an understanding of what you're building. And I literally got goosebumps in the book when you said that you have to build something greater than yourself. What did you mean by that?
I mean, it's not about me. Even this book is not about me. And I'm so humbled to see like this amazing hashtag, the Path Redefined, and all of these great pictures and all of these great quotes and reflections and excitement, because, this book is sincerely not about me. Seriously and sincerely not about me. And so when I say build something that's bigger than yourself, I mean create a legacy of success, something that you can pass down to your children, something that you can help by inspiring your friends and your colleagues, and that you can kind of be a light that helps other people to shine.
Yeah. Be a light that helps other people to shine. I love that. And I think that's where we should end, because now I really do have goosebumps that I'm going to have to take off my arms. But I just want everyone to know that you can go and buy the book, The Path Redefined, on Amazon. Lauren, do you have anything else to add to that on where to get it, how to engage with you? Tell our audience.
Yeah, so The Path Redefined, Getting to the Top on Your Own Terms, is available at major booksellers everywhere. So you can get it. You can go to thepathredefined.com, which also has all of the buy links, so that you can find the book at your retailer of choice. But it's everywhere. It's on Amazon, as you said. It's a bestseller. Yay! Yay! Thank you everyone for your support. It's on Barnes and Nobles. It's everywhere. It's everywhere that you want it to be. And wherever it's not, you can tweet at me at Lauren M. Bias, and we will make sure that we get the books there.
I love that. Well, Lauren, thank you again for being here and taking your afternoon to share some of your amazingly inspiring advice with our community. You are the best, and we wish you so much success, and everybody go out and buy the book, The Path Redefined. Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you.